And I know that really helped me as a child. When I could see somebody doing something, it let me see what was possible.
There's so many programs today where kids are watching videos. That it's all being done. That the educator is clicking play, and that's actually an important part of our work. Is that
Did you have a moment or an experience that really sort of made you go, "Oh, this is so important. It's not just what we're learning, but it's how we're learning this."
Well, and then they were also empowered, I'm imagining, especially since they're building community together, that they could then recognize if one of them felt that way, and they would actually be able to take an action that could support co-regulation. Is that true?
Yes, we launched during COVID, and we really focused on elementary and middle school to start. Next year, we'll be adding in even more modules, so a much more comprehensive high school program as well.
Welcome back to the Healing You Method podcast. I'm Gloria Lybecker, here with my lovely co-host, Gail Donohue. And today we're joined by a visionary guest, Kendra Bostick, social impact co-founder. She's a PhD candidate, and she's the heart behind the experiential learning platform, Kikori.
And Kendra's work spans continents and classrooms, from youth behavioral health to global innovation. We can't wait to dive into her passion for empowering others and transforming education. So, Kendra, I'd like to invite you to please share some of your background, and we can begin to learn about you and this important movement that you're creating.
Wonderful. So excited to be here and to be with both of you. So I am a former school social worker. I worked in schools in Detroit, Chicago, and abroad. And I really fell into the world of experiential learning while getting my master's at the University of Michigan. So there's an incredible group of people that are part of the Association for Experiential Education. And it was really that conference and that group of people where I learned about the experiential learning team building concept. So after learning the power and really experiencing it myself through being facilitated through the workshops, these amazing facilitators, I brought these practices into my work. So I first worked for 2 years in inpatient behavioral health hospitals, and then transitioned into working in schools. And throughout it all, I saw really this experiential learning as a practice that really, really reached all students. So my work as a school social worker is with the students that have, difficult backgrounds, are having difficulties with the traditional classroom. And so I saw them really be able to change and grow and see their own behavior and come up with ways that worked for them to solve problems through this experiential learning approach.
That's cool. What I'd love to hear, just I'm inspired by what you've just shared. I want, since you're really focusing on experiential, and that resonates with me so much with my background, can you walk us through what that might look like when you step into a room with a classroom, rather than just like a one-on-one, but with a classroom?
Absolutely, yeah. So the the idea with experiential learning is that we are not telling students what they need to do or how they need to do it. We are inviting them
Mm-hmm.
into learning through a game, a challenge, an activity. And so immediately, when you bring in play and novelty, our students' defense mechanisms go down. It's fun, it's exciting, and through that play, they're also introduced to challenge. So with challenge comes eustress. So we're more motivated, we are excited, we are interested. We are moving out of our comfort zone into our growth zone. And then we use the experiential learning cycle, so Kolb's experiential learning cycle, to really change it from a game to a deep learning experience. So through reflection, we're asking students what happened? So, what did you notice in this game? What did you notice about yourself? What did you notice about others? How does what happened in this game connect with what happens in math class or happens at recess when we have a challenge? And then how can we fix this? What can we do to solve the problem and achieve our goals? And so that is sort of the reflect, connect, grow, which is our Kikori cycle is play, reflect, connect, grow. And when we take students through that, they are able to, yeah, really solve their own problems, learn about
Mhm.
themselves, learn, the patterns that are happening in the classroom in a way where we're not telling them this is what you need to do. They are empowered and they are owning that learning.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love visualizing how that looks because it's the teacher or the leader or the facilitator that's actually embodying it, which is then a model for the children to have. And I know that really helped me as a child. When I could see somebody doing something, it let me see what was possible. And then I could experiment with doing it myself and find out what that was like. So that's really cool. And
Well,
that ties right
and
in, doesn't it, with I love how you mentioned the play circuitry is so important for learning.
Well, and there's a piece you just mentioned, which is the educator.
Mhm.
And this was something that was even in my mind just this morning, as we are like driving or having our own space, the thoughts that come into our mind. And one of our like core values is that the educator is at the heart of this work.
Mhm.
And so there's so many programs today where kids are watching videos. They're, that it's all being done, that the educator is clicking play. And that's actually an important part of our work is that we create slides. So we support the educator with in helping her lead the activity. But it is so important for the educator to be the one that is doing that and building that relationship and being with them through the process, that it's not being done by someone else because they're such an important part of the entire interaction and learning.
Yeah. That sounds, thank you for sharing that, Kendra. That sounds so interesting. And I I really like what you said about the teacher being so involved, that facilitator, because that's where the important connection piece comes in, right? That's having that involved so that it's not feeling like there's the sage on the stage kind of thing. And so that more authoritarian, you do this, you do that, and not have any kind of connection at all. And it sounds like, I mean, well, what I'm hearing is it's how we're learning that's so important. Did you have a moment or an experience that really sort of made you go, "Oh, this is so important. It's not just what we're learning, but it's how we're learning this."
Yeah, and that is another one of my sayings that I say more and more every day. It's not the what, it's the how. Um, this is how I learned. So after this initial conference, when I was getting my master's, I went back every single year. And the initial conference, I attended the Therapeutic Adventure Professional Group pre-conference. So it was 25 educators, 3 days that we played. And through that, I learned so much about myself. Every year I went back and I called it it was like filling my bucket. And I learned about, why I traveled. I learned like so many, and I remember the exact moment. I remember what was happening. I remember the activity where I learned these pieces. And throughout this work, for me personally, leading these activities, I am a school social worker, one student, three students, that is my comfort zone. So I saw the power of these activities, but in order to lead them and to facilitate them, you have to be, I mean, there are skills, just as there are skills in any, in any career or anything that we're doing. And so to learn how to reflect, to learn that what, so what, now what, that is that reflect,
Mhm.
connect, grow. I attended just as many sessions on debriefing as possible. I learned so many amazing games. And what I would do is I'd sit and I would write down exactly what the facilitator said. Because
Mhm.
for me, I was like, if I can get what how they presented it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And being able to experience it completely changed it from being, a page in a book of activities to feeling confident leading this because I had experienced it. I knew the outcomes. I knew there could be many more outcomes. And so that was how this really became a part of my life as I went living in Chicago. There's a university, oh gosh, Northwestern, I believe. They had a Teams conference. Yeah. They had a Teams conference every year where the people who were leading the Association for Experiential Education would come, and they had many more facilitators as well. And so I found my folks and I attended as many of the
Mm.
workshops as I could. There's one in particular. So Lori Frank did this work in Madison Public School Districts for 30 years. And so
Oh,
that
wow.
was actually the 5 Saturdays over 2.5 months with educators
Mm.
playing, creating community while learning about community group development, reading John Dewey. That was where the idea of Kikori came from. Was actually the last session we needed to create a project based on what we needed in our classroom. So
Yeah.
that's where the platform and the whole idea came from.
Yeah, how inspiring. It sounds like you've really like embodied it. It sort of sounds like it's like the oxygen you breathe now that you've just it just flows so naturally for you. Yeah, that I can see how that would just bring so much inspiration to students and people that you work with to
Mm.
just have that connection and just have it flowing so much. Yeah, so interesting. And it sounds like with the play aspect, so important because with a lot of the work I do,
Yeah.
creating a psychologically safe environment is so important for learning. And it seems like with you, that's what you're doing through these exercises and involving the person, not just dictating out lessons.
And you hit the nail right on the head. When our students do not feel safe and connected, they cannot access their frontal lobe. They cannot, learning will not happen. So it is, how do we create those safe spaces, those safe and connected spaces where kids feel seen, heard, and appreciated? And yeah, and it's when I had to work with my students, I always had the plan. I always knew what they were working on. I always had the curriculum, the pieces. But at the end of the day, when I met with them, what's going on? How are you feeling? So we would do a check-in and they would show me how they were feeling. As soon as they were able to label how they were feeling, they were able to connect it with what was happening in their lives. And I created a game that supported them in practicing the skills needed based on what was happening in their lives.
Mm.
So it's that relevance, it's that real, like, that is, that helped them feel seen to begin with,
Mhm.
which allowed the trust to build between us and allowed them to trust me and see me as a partner and a buddy and in this work, and really helped them make the changes so they could feel happy and you know be
Yeah.
successful in school.
So it sounds like you were actually modeling being an empathic teacher, being
Mhm.
empathetic, and
Yeah.
for them also, I'm imagining that part of that is them developing a language. I don't know if you teach or would model, sensations into emotions or needs or values or those types of things, but those are really key pieces that in mainstream, I don't see that being taught at all.
Yeah, the first lesson I did with every student was around understanding fight or flight.
Okay.
So understanding, like, for what is happening that we are not feeling good in the classroom, understanding, helping them to be able to speak about what was happening, and then helping them tie that to fight or flight, and understanding that when we feel upset, when we don't feel heard, when we don't feel competent, there, you know, adrenaline and cortisol happens in our brain, and this produces these effects, and it was that initial understanding around fight or flight that helped them feel like they were, this is normal. We all have this. We all experience this. This is a part of all humans and it's designed to protect us. And once they had that knowledge, it completely changed
Mm.
um, the way they saw themselves and the
Yeah.
stories that they told about themselves and their ability to take control of their lives.
Hmm.
Um, does that align sort of
It
with what you
does.
were
Yeah.
talking
Completely,
about?
yeah. Well, and then they were also empowered, I'm imagining, especially since they're building community together, that they could then recognize if one of them felt that way, and they would actually be able to take an action that could support co-regulation. Is that true?
100%. Yeah, we're all in this together.
Mhm.
And so when we play games and we're introducing challenge or lack of resources or, typical situations that may come up in the classroom, uh, we're able to talk about, oh, I feel frustrated. What can we do? What are our coping strategies? And so, learning how to take deep breaths and the science behind them was a core part of
Mhm.
my work as well. Their deep breaths are always with them no matter where they go. But yeah, that's absolutely a big part of how the whole system works together and play and community and learning those coping skills.
Yeah, you said that this does work with any age of a human being, right? But when you first started out, though, what was the age that you were working with?
So working in schools, I worked in K-8 majority
Okay,
of the schools that I worked in.
okay.
Yeah.
And now you're creating curriculum now?
Yes, yeah. So the idea for Kikori came from Lori Frake's Journey Toward the
Mhm.
Caring Classroom workshop. There's a whole nother, we call it our Entre Preventure, that kind of came out of that work where afterwards the professors that ran that course had a master's program focused on experiential learning. I attended that in a cabin in Black Earth, Wisconsin, where once a month educators we met together and again, played, went kayaking, spelunking, did a 10-day in Wyoming, read more John Dewey, Kurt Hahn. Um, that was where I met my co-founder. So Bryn Loddig did this work for, oh gosh, probably 25 years now in kayaking expeditions, high ropes courses, challenge courses, working with camps, but really leading that facilitative element. Um, I moved to Chile for 2 years while we were there. Ended up, so worked in a school there for a semester and then ended up trading English lessons to learn how to develop an app, learn how to create a website, learn what a value
Wow.
proposition was. Um, Joined an accelerator there and then came to the University of New Hampshire to work with a professor who wrote the book on adventure therapy. So,
Oh,
really using this kinesthetic metaphor experiential approach therapeutically. And so, at the University of New Hampshire is where I was able to work together with the Entrepreneurship Center and really build out the business. It's won a couple wonderful competitions while at the university. Um, and so over the past, I guess we launched during COVID. And we, yeah, really focused on elementary and middle school to start. Next year, we'll be adding in even more modules, so a much more comprehensive high school program as well.
that is
Wow.
so
Long
cool.
story to get to your
Yeah,
your
No, no,
question,
it's
but
that's great to hear that. I mean, it's wonderful, and you've got a vision. It's growing, which is fabulous. And so I was curious with you, you're doing research, you're a leader, you're a global connector. Um, what do you do for yourself? You said, how important the teachers are, the facilitators. And so for you being the leader here of this Kikori movement, how do you stay grounded in your why while you've got a lot of responsibility and you've got a big vision that you're working towards?
yeah, I'm very, very lucky because my why is in every meeting with every teammate, um, everyone that I work with, and the research that I'm doing. So, working on my doctorate, um, the study is so cool. It's like the missing piece that is not, nobody has done this work. It's really seen the difference between the experiential learning, social emotional learning activity and a traditional social emotional learning, that top-down approach and, seeing what happens. So my my why is everywhere. I have a daughter. My dream that I've dreamed of my entire life, and she goes to one of the most wonderful preschools in the world. And so I get to see every day with the pictures that they send the programming that they do, that is all, the why in early education. Um, I think, in the evenings, I lay down with my daughter, and that is our time. And during that time, my thoughts are able to flow into different places. My husband runs a fencing club, so that's why we're here in Cambridge. But he has built in reflection into his practices. He said after he started building in reflection, that his students skyrocketed. So even in our conversations on the work that he is doing, which is amazing, and building student self-confidence through sport, it's really like is a part of everything. But I think spending time with my daughter and being outside, and my family are really those pieces that help me stay grounded as well, and being able to see
Mm.
that it's working. So it took a long time to build the right thing. And last year we really built the right thing. Our educators love it. The students love it.
Mm.
Administrators are thrilled. And so we're finally kind of seeing the all of the work um, really, really having an amazing impact on our little ones and our educators.
So maybe speak a little bit about, so that our viewers get more of a sense of this, you could share where they could go and check it out. And we can put that link into the podcast as well. But what kind of contributors do you have that are partnering with you, that are actually going, oh yes, I want to support that vision?
Yeah, so I think that's another, like, sometimes I pause and think about what we have done and the community that we have. And whenever we talk about Kikori, we say that we are standing on the shoulders of giants.
Mhm.
The facilitators, like, it's actually like amazing, the humans that we have that are part of Kikori, the facilitators that I sat on the floor and watched and recorded every word. So Chris Caver, Lori Frank, Tara Flippo, Marilyn Levin, Jennifer Stanchfield, Michelle Cummings is an incredible leader in this field. We've talked before as well. I have to gonna add an addendum. Michael Gass, my professor. Um, Play for Peace. So when you talk about the global connections, Play for Peace was our first contributor. They are a social mission partner. They have been doing this work, bringing cooperative play to communities in conflict around the world the last 25 years. So Craig Dopkin, my guest, is really well connected, but Sarah Goff is the executive director. Marilyn Levin works with them, and she has her own book of activities that is completely available in Kikori. Um, they were our first contributor, and they've dedicated 200 activities. They have been translating them into different languages, 8 different languages. And they're next year we're collaborating to create a webinar where all the proceeds will go to the club. And each club is creating playlists of activities. So we had Morteza from Afghanistan. So he created a playlist of traditional Afghan activities that will be available. So there are clubs around the world, Vietnam, Costa Rica, will actually have activities where our students here and around the world will see activities from where they come from. So there are just so many incredible facilitators who've really led this work. Carl Ronke and Project Adventure are really folks who led this movement from the beginning, and their influence is seen in so many different activities. And we do our best to update all the sources, and provide information around, the people who really started this work.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a wide variety, very eclectic, and everybody matters, and everyone has a voice, and everyone can share their experience, and through that collectivity, there's a collaboration that's taking place that's really changing the world, especially in education.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
so exciting.
and I think that was the vision was we are doing such amazing work, but there's something missing in K-12 where it's not so amazing facilitation, amazing practices coming in, working with students, working with educators, with administrators. but there wasn't always that sustainability. And
Mm.
so that's really the idea behind the platform is with this platform. And what we've done is we've taken our, library of 3,000 activities at this point, and we curate a calendar where every single day we are providing activities aligned with the experiential learning cycle that can be built into the schedule in a way where this is something educators care so deeply about. I was just at the New Hampshire Association for School Principals conference. This is their why. I mean, climate and culture is everything, but how do we make it easy and work? And so I think that's where the platform has come in and making it really just simple every single day, exactly what they need. And we create slides, as I mentioned, to provide that facilitative support for educators and in helping them be able to lead the activities without having to put in, any extra work at all. It's literally it's 2 clicks and um,
Great.
Yeah, there's that great video you had that I got to watch where the principal and some of the teachers were talking about. And then we could actually see the children and see how they were doing that. So that's a great one we could plug into for people to have an experience of witnessing what that's like. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think so the offering, so within Kikori, there's the database of, 3,000 activities organized by group development. So ice melters, we melt the ice, we don't break the ice, energizers, team builders, problem solvers. And then we create an entire experiential connection calendar for grades 3, 5, middle school and high school, with that is aligned with responsive classroom framework. And so every day their activities, we align them with different national days. So we bring in the world around us. We're able to bring in nature, STEM, history, stories, really all the different subject matter. Um, and then the teacher appreciation days. So school lunch hero day, custodian day. We have activities and games for every one of those. So we're not just talking about community. We're who is our school librarian? What do you love about her? Take time to share with her your favorite book that you've read. We really build all of that in. We also have a core curriculum that follows the community building model, 36 modules, 10 activities each. And we're building a digital citizenship curriculum.
Wow.
So that is being done with Margot Denemy. It is so important and core to what is happening in the world today. So digital citizenship, safety, and wellness. We are building social emotional learning, experiential learning, creative expression, real world application into this. So we're not telling students, don't be on screens. We are empowering them, helping them experience the why and talk about it and make those decisions, but really giving them information around the developmental, physical, mental, social impact of
Yes.
screens
Hmm.
and phones and social media, right, in our lives. So
Yeah, I love that talk about the impact because that is so key and so important so that they can be educated in their decision making. And the model that you are embodying and inviting them into, I love that you use invitation, is the model that allows them to then step in and embody it and make those decisions from within themselves, from their own values. So it's a whole different platform. And I'm just so grateful for you doing that, for your inspiration. And also I'm imagining that, and this might be my projection, but it might have taken some courage to step out and actually go after this when you first had that experience and because you got to know yourself in brand new ways. And that in itself is what really became what I'm hearing was your big why.
and 100%. Yeah, you just sparked Marley Williams. Yeah, so Marley Williams is an incredible leader in this field. She supports women in using facilitation to create epic experiences. And um she shared her spark and her why how she was leaving her safe university to go and do the work that she believed was important. And it was that watching her activate speech at the university at the Association for Experiential Education, which was my first, like, I could never do that. I would never leave a school. I loved my schools. I loved my kids. I could never, but it was that like, wait, but could I? And yeah, this entire, I mean, it is showing up, making the calls, meeting with investors, meeting with school leaders. Last year, I led our implementation. That was terrifying. I had an amazing teammate, Barbara Hochstatter, who led that for years prior, who had done this work for 20 years. But it was, yeah, I
Yeah.
having,
Uh,
moving into our growth zone over and over
Yes.
and over again has been a huge part of this. So,
well, and
It
when you
seems,
do that,
yeah.
though, oh, go ahead, Gail.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say that it seems in listening to you that you are now creating that environment for young people to be able to get access to have, some stretch, some practice in all of those areas of growth and, flex that muscle of confidence and stepping out of that comfort zone and trying something new. But it's okay. Like it's safe and they can then be much more prepared to go out into the world later and be themselves how they
Mhm.
want to be, and then also learn and contribute to be in the world with others and take care of our world and take care of others too.
yeah, that's
Pretty.
so one of our core activities is called comfort zones. And so we actually identify where is our comfort zone, read off different scenarios, moving into our growth zone, what puts us in our growth zone, what puts us in our panic zone,
Mm,
and understanding that what puts us in our panic zone was based on an experience.
Mm,
Nobody moves in. So I actually did horseback riding with the educators that I worked with most recently, and watching them run to the panic zone and run to the comfort zone and share their experiences, right? I mean, people were in all different places, but that our feelings, our reactions, our sensory motor,
mhm,
you know, um, impulses are based on the experiences we've had.
mhm,
And that means that when we know that, we now have control and we get to decide if we want to stay there or move to a different place. But it
yeah,
gives us a completely different sense. So that's one of the core concepts in experiential learning, actually, is that.
yeah,
right.
and what I love about that too is in that learning continuum, that you're going to learn something new. Well, you've really embodied it when you can apply it.
Mm,
And so you're growing the awareness from the inside. What was unconscious now is becoming conscious, and that allows there to be a choice point. And then to make a choice,
Exactly.
and then you do the reflection afterwards, which is just gorgeous. That reflection piece that allows whatever their experience to be okay. There's no judgment. And that's also more learning, and they're applying that too. And when we apply what we learn and we're met there, we're encouraged to learn more because
mm,
we've learned that we don't have to go to panic. We don't have to stay in the fear. We can find our way back to our heart and not be alone. And so that's the heart of the work I'm about as well. So I just applaud that. It makes me so happy. And I love that you're
Yeah.
doing that with these people, and it's inspiring me. I'm like, oh, that'd be so cool to do at a retreat, populate these different places, and people could go run where they're at. Yeah, really fun.
Yes. Yes. No, I shared with you before where my team is definitely coming to do a retreat with you. That is now on our list. But yeah, the visual that my professor puts together is if you think of a rope, so how a rope is all twined together.
Hmm.
Basically, he puts the activity, so the activity goes on the rope here. And within that activity, so a lot of people call it the black box, like what happens in this activity. But it's that um, self-awareness, that learning, that choice around, okay, these were my habits, my
mm,
decisions, the way that I was before. But in this activity, I now have a chance to do something different. Either do something I do really well, more of that, or do something different. And so we get to change in this safe container how we act. And when we come out, the rope is in different ways. So the rope comes out in different threads. And so that's really the
Wow.
beauty is like in this container, we've got a chance to change, to do something
yeah,
differently. So instead of talking over each other, we're going to come up with the idea to use a talking stick and watch and see what worked. Wow, the second that we made eye contact with each other, the second that we took turns, the second that we let this person speak, we were successful. So
Mm,
that's
that is
the deep
fun.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's the metamorphosis, right? It's just, it
Yeah.
We call it, so our workshop, I have a teammate, Kenzie Keith does this work. So she was did her master's with me and at UNH with Dr. Gass. Our webinar is called Metamorphosis.
oh,
Ah, that's great.
So understanding the kinesthetic metaphor, really understanding that process.
yes. Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, well, if you could leave our listeners with just one invitation, especially those that are working in education or healing, what would it be?
I think it would be to really to trust your heart.
Mm,
Um, you know what kids need. You know what you need. There are so many, you know, extrinsic forces that are happening that make us feel nervous and uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, loving your students,
mm.
caring for your students, seeing your students is what is going to help them grow and become the humans that we want them to be. So I feel like it's, yeah, just that trusting yourself, trusting your heart, taking a deep breath, and like moving forward with what you know is right is what is going to help us all.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your heart and thank you for your work. The healing and education are so tied into one another. Just like I love that rope, the visualization of that rope, and that there is a choice point in there. And so through that connection, you really can change the world, which you're working with the whole world, which is so, I love it.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Just amazing. And I'd like to share that as we're closing here, that next week we're going to be diving into a tender and powerful topic, looking at grief as teacher, loss as luminary. So we're going to be exploring how personal loss can redirect your life's work and how to hold sorrow and gratitude together,
Mm.
and even share a gentle breath and gesture practice for those moments when grief visits us in public spaces.
Yeah, you won't want to miss it. So until then.
Be gentle with yourself and stay curious.